Today on Aging Untold, finding your next home with no regrets.
What's the nursing staff supervision like? Who's the director? Is there a director of nursing? How many doctors come into the communities?
The questions you need to ask before moving into an assisted living community. Then,
Mother Nature's candy.
Natural sweetness.
we'll take you for a trip down the grocery store aisle for some simple finds that could help you transform your heart health. And later, a golden legacy. We dive into the history behind these best-selling children's books. Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with Aging Well Coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board-certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. Finding the right assisted living community for a loved one is one of the most important decisions a family can make. Many communities offer caring staff, active social programs, and added safety that help residents thrive. But sometimes people feel the journey can include misleading promises and hidden cost. Amy, let's begin with the basics. What are the different types of options for assisted living?
So the first thing I want to say is when I start talking to somebody about assisted living, they immediately have in their head nursing home. Right. And there's a clear difference between the two. Mm-hmm. And how you need to look at it is how dependent your person is on hands-on care. Do they need lots and lots of help? Nursing home is like a hospital, 2 beds, 2 overbed tables, cubicle curtain. That's nursing home. Assisted living, there's all types. You can live in a small home, you can live in a medium size, you can have your own apartment. And then there's assisted living that provides care, medical care, and there's communities that provide memory care. And so you look at your person and you say, what's the primary need? Is it memory care? All right. Do they have the environment set up? Is there freedom of wandering? Are there programs 12 hours a day? Or is it just a locked door? Oh, we have a memory care and it's a secure unit, but it really is just a locked door. Right. If it's medical, what's the nursing staff supervision like? Who's the director? Is there a director of nursing? How many doctors come into the community? So you want to be really, really careful that you're looking at what the needs are and then where you're gonna move your loved one in.
And then you mentioned them, the smaller, like the homes, the RCFEs or board and cares. It depends on your state what they're called, but they're a little more intimate. They're in residential areas, 6 beds typically, sometimes a little larger. And those are really good for our introverts or just people that like a little calmer, more intimate family feel. They're also typically more affordable. But I tell anyone that's moving in, you know, the tours look great. That's what they're designed for. It's like buying a house and then finding out the foundation's not good. So you've got to look for the red flags that are there. Talk to the residents. Find out about the food. The food's the number one reason your loved one's usually not going to be happy. You want to look around. Does it smell bad?
Yeah.
Does it smell bad? That's a big indicator right there that we're not keeping up on changes and incontinence and we're not keeping up on our housekeeping. You know, okay, a little bit of dust on a table is one thing, but if I'm walking down the hall and the trash cans are overflowing or there's doors open to apartments and there's somebody just sitting in there parked against almost looking at a blank wall in a wheelchair, then where's the care? Look at how the staff's interacting with the residents. And are they smiling? Are they active? Or are they just like almost robots doing a job and just there, and you can tell that they're disgruntled. If the employees aren't happy, your family member is not going to be happy there.
You know, some of them are really, really pretty. Like some of them are just like Catherine. I know you've had a lot of experience with moving people around in some of the communities.
Some of them are too pretty to where it might unnerve grandma, like, oh, I can't possibly live there. But you know, they might relax about that over time. And then on the other hand, sometimes they don't look like much, but that could be where the best care is. That could be where the best social activities are. Mm-hmm. So really look beyond the aesthetics.
Kind of like those restaurants, they look like a hole in the wall, but man, they have the best food.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a great
absolutely.
analogy.
But the other thing too is you have to look at who's giving the medication. and how prone are they to make mistakes, and how do they handle those mistakes?
Right.
So I would see the benefit of a smaller unit there, because the ratio of staff to patients, you have to look at that, and that's a big deal. And who all do they include in that staff, in that number, like you
who's
said?
in that ratio?
Yeah.
Who's included?
Yeah, and then you also have to look at what about their dietary needs. How do they fix the foods for the appropriate medical conditions? So people who are diabetic need a specific diet. People who have kidney disease, they need a specific diet. Who does that? How do they figure out who oversees that? And who are the physicians or providers coming in to oversee everything?
Right.
I mean, that's nice if you have the psychiatrist coming in, but he's probably not going to be the person that does the internal medicine work.
Yeah, and I think practical tips like, can they walk? Can they walk far? What apartment are they going to have in the community? Is it close to the dining room? Do they have a service where they'll bring food in the morning? Maybe you're not a morning breakfast person, you want your breakfast brought in. How flexible are their services?
Huge.
Do they eat on a routine? Is that 3 meals that are considered? If they have other snacks, are those some hidden costs? What are the hidden costs?
Right.
Should we look for, guys?
Exactly.
Well, I'm glad
These
you
are great
brought that up.
questions.
There's levels of care in a lot of the communities, and they charge per level of care. And you have to ask, how much are those levels?
And what do they include?
And what do they include? And how often do they assess the person? And can you go down a level?
Right.
Maybe you've got better.
Right. Sometimes too, you may have to add care. You may have topped out at their level, and you bring in additional home health care.
So
That's right.
and that happens more frequently than not. So you end up with some of the hidden costs. You get community fees on top of your rent. So what are they and how much are they? Look for that full entire fee schedule. And then what happens if my loved one, maybe they've had a catastrophic stroke, they're still okay in the community care-wise, but who's feeding them? And is that an additional cost? Do you even provide that? Because I have a home care agency that goes into a lot of assisted livings to do one-on-ones. So now you're paying to be in a community with care. You're paying for the highest level of care, but you're having to hire a private agency to come in and do those things.
Right.
So you got to be really, really careful about the additional costs, because they do mount up.
Making health-conscious decisions can be easier said than done. Coming up, we show you how to grocery shop with your heart in mind. But first, knowing when to step up or step back.
And a big thing about that pushback is the more you push, the more they're going to push back.
What you can do when the aging adult in your life refuses help you think they need.
You may have heard this from an aging family member or friend before. I don't need help, or I can pay for it myself. Those responses can mask real concerns and can be worrying when you see they're struggling. Sam, where does this rejection often come from?
So we're talking about a generation that was raised up to believe that help is weakness. If I need help, I'm too weak, I'm too incapable. And so reaching out for help is not almost in the DNA. And then you also, a lot of our people, they were let down so frequently when they did ask for help that they just learned to do everything themselves. So you have to realize as family members that sometimes no isn't no, it's I'm scared. And our job is to make help feel like it's safe and that it's acceptable and it's okay to need assistance. We all need help. There's not any human being that doesn't need someone else. You need definitely more than most. But there's not any one of us that doesn't need somebody. But when help comes around and it steals from you, then it's not really help. And that's unfortunately, our families come in a lot of times like they're the cavalry and they're the knight in shining armor and I'm going to come in and save the day. And all of a sudden, I just needed help getting the trash cans to the curb. And now you're not letting me pay my bills and you're not letting me do this and you're not letting me do that. So you
it's
have
a total
to
loss. You
yeah.
feel like you've lost everything. You're losing autonomy, you're losing yourself and all that. And so I think it's really that, it's not that they don't want the help, but sometimes they're ashamed. You know, imagine now I have to have my children who I was able to take care of, they're coming to help me. You can feel ashamed and all that. And a lot of people feel that you're weak. You know, if you need help, it's weak. So I think a lot of that is going on. And then it's some you know, this is a brain disease as well, too. If there's cognitive issues and cognitive decline, if we have the start of dementia, you know, that's where it hits in that temporal lobe that's telling us to help us to remember, to orient ourselves, and to know where we are in time. And if you start to have a damage there, then you don't recognize that you have an issue, that you know, so you don't see yourself as needing help.
What I think about is just the grief. Like denial is a stage of grief, and that you're grieving a loss, that you can do things on your own and that you need help. So processing that grief and getting out of denial is often helpful. And the other thing is I don't want a stranger in my house.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want a stranger in my house. I want the house to myself.
Right. And that's really hard to deal with. And so sometimes using some leverage, like mom and dad, the doctor said that we need to have a certain number of hours for home care, a certain number for home health. And a big thing about that pushback is the more you push, the more they're going to push back. Because it feels like I'm being managed, I'm being controlled. I want to be in control of my own life.
So you just have to present it to them as choices.
Yeah, so I do this. I tell everybody, take it one step at a time. You want one task. Hey, Mom, we need to get a housekeeper in. Can we get a housekeeper in one day, just one day a week for a short period of time? Tuesday work? What about Thursday? So let choices happen.
Because people fear losing control more than they fear the actual problem.
Still ahead, illustrations that stand the test of time. How art from decades ago inspires the creators of today. After the break, what you eat could be working against you, and you might not even know it. A dietitian decodes nutrition labels and shares the ingredients that can turn healthy choices into heart hazards. You can watch Aging Untold anytime online. Go to aginguntold.com or subscribe to the Aging Untold YouTube channel for more.
When it comes to eating a heart-healthy diet, grocery shopping is half the battle, as certain foods could sabotage your well-being. Jen Pachano is in Cleveland, Ohio, with some insight into the ingredients to watch out for and the swaps that could transform your heart health.
Heiden's dietitian Melanie Jacek says a heart-healthy diet is also an anti-inflammatory diet. So you're doing your whole body better when you follow guidelines for a healthier heart.
And the great thing about a heart-healthy diet is you're not just eating to feed a healthy heart, you're eating to feed a healthy brain, a healthy liver, healthy digestive system.
Oh, I like this. Jacek says stay as close to plant-based as you can, limit added sugar, and focus on fiber and healthy fats. She filled my cart at their Brecksville location with her favorite items from those center aisles, which can be full of high-sodium, unhealthy choices. To cure a sweet tooth, she says indulge in walnut or almond butters, figs, and dates.
Mother Nature's candy.
Natural sweetness.
Mother Nature's candy.
I love it. In the cereal aisle, it's sugar, not sodium, that works against a healthy heart.
Now the added sugar is what messes with cholesterol and triglycerides. You know, you see triglycerides on your blood panel, that's the fat in your blood, which can raise due to too much sugar.
She recommends choices with 3 grams of fiber or more per serving. One of the tricky places you'll find a lot of sodium that's no good for your heart, condiments and sauces. So pay attention to the labels. You're going to want to find one that has about 120 milligrams of sodium per serving or less. Jacek suggests subbing in salsa in salads to add spice and more vegetables, or even some creamy tahini as a versatile replacement for a condiment in a grain bowl.
But tahini is great because, you know, there's no sodium in it. It's good, healthy fat from sesame seeds.
In the chip aisle, reach for black bean chips with sunflower oil for more fiber, or corn tortilla chips made with avocado oil.
We're getting a good, healthy fat there. So this is one.
If you're going to go for something like this is a lesser evil.
This is like a splurge, right?
And with convenience meals, seek out product lines like Blue Zone's Kitchen that boost flavor by adding more herbs and less sodium.
This is how those people in those blue zones, those areas of the world,
Are living to be so old, right?
They're outliving their doctors. I mean,
For those watching their budget and their sodium intake, shopping can be even more difficult. At the Hunger Network's Midtown Market, the shelves are full of canned goods, which can be high in preservatives, so they label them to help shoppers make healthier choices.
We would much rather you choose something like our whole grain pasta or even just our bag of regular pasta, because there's no extra preservatives in these.
Right.
You can do what you need to do with them for at home, and you get a lot more than a box like this.
Manager Elijah Knoll stocks lower sodium options when he can and provides shoppers with recipe guides incorporating fresh, maybe unfamiliar produce so they can better feed a healthy heart.
Food really is medicine, and so when we're looking at things that we can really have control over, and it doesn't have to cost that much, if you're eating real food. And so we want to shop on the outside and not on the inside, just like she's saying, and more of your fruits and your vegetables, your natural things like that. I always tell people, if you're looking on the back of an ingredient and you can't pronounce it, that's probably a red flag.
Oh, well, I can't pronounce a lot of things, so.
I was told that if sugar is 5th or down on the ingredient, that it was healthy for you, and that's been a good guide just to keep it down, not in the second ingredient.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because ingredients are listed by what there's the most of.
Right.
So when you're looking at that
Right.
list, you get the most, and if sugar's the top one, you're probably getting a little, you're sweet enough. You don't have to have it like that.
Sometimes they trick you because they have, if you look at the carbs, that's what it's going to break down to.
Oh, yeah.
And then you look down here and it says added sugar, no added sugar. Well, yeah, because it's all at the top.
Yeah, because there's 38 grams of carbs. You didn't have to add any.
It's kind of tricky marketing in a way. And as we age, I think food, alcohol affects us a lot more as well.
Absolutely. You get a rapid sugar spike. So when you eat carbs or something that's ultra processed or things like that, then you're going to want it quicker because it's going to be a big spike, drops down, and you want to crave it more.
So you want to have your sugar stay stable as possible.
You want to eat what we call foods with low glycemic index. Foods that do not raise your sugar levels quickly, so that it keeps you full longer and you don't have to.
You're staying a little more,
a
little more even.
Coming up next, an iconic childhood treasure is back in the spotlight. Little golden books are making a comeback. We'll show you how these tiny classics are rekindling sweet memories for parents and grandparents alike.
You may be familiar with their iconic golden spines. Since 1942, Little Golden Books have brought children's stories to life with exquisite illustrations. Tisha Powell got a chance to check out the artwork, sparking nostalgia for the generations who grew up with these stories on their shelves.
In the 1940s, the vast majority of the authors are women.
As more than 80 years have slipped by, these colorful illustrations have stood the test of time. The whimsical scenes of friendly animals and fun characters that tell the stories that captured little hearts and minds.
This is a 70-year-old painting on paper.
The vibrant reds, verdant greens, and bright blues of Little Golden Books. They're the focus of an exhibition taking visitors on a joyful journey through childhood. These now classics were the brainchild of author George Duplaix.
So George wanted to create this affordable line, and so he came up with 12 titles, and they dedicated to keeping it at 25 cents, which is equivalent to about $5 in today's economy. And this one is from 1952. This is
Michelle Schulte is the chief curator at the LSU Museum of Art.
It's not necessarily a show for children. I believe it's a show about nostalgia.
A chance to see 60 of the original illustrations that decorated the pages of these popular books, loved by children for generations.
In 1942, they were using the gold binding. They were using
many paintings brought to life by artists who fled to New York from Europe during the war.
It's really about this feeling of capturing those memories and capturing those moments from your lifetime. And we've had visitors come in here and see these images, and they'll say, and there'll be adults, and they'll say, I remember that book.
Favorites from the 40s like Toodle, The Little Red Hen, and the all-time bestseller, The Pokey Little Puppy.
You can see the reproduction is right there. So again, this is the original painting. And then there's the reproduction within the book, and you can see how vibrant the colors are, considering that this was from the 1960s.
As times changed, so did the stories to reflect pop culture featuring characters from Disney, Sesame Street, Peanuts, and more. There are even biographies of famous Americans.
And so they knew to partner with these other pop icons to expand their titles. And so now you could watch something on television and read it in your golden book.
I think, the museum should be fun, living, dynamic places. It's not just silent where you're looking at the walls. These are lively, beautiful, imaginative images.
A rich history, organizers hope will bring back old memories for some and create new ones for the next generation of readers.
And I don't think as a child I appreciated the artwork.
Right.
Like, it's so amazing, that dragon coming through the house with the front and the back, and the colors and the visuals. It's so enriching.
Right. There's even like the Dr. Seuss, all those colors that they used in illustrations. And back in the day when you actually illustrated a book.
We just thought that was the norm. I mean, as we get older, we start to appreciate artistic talent.
Yeah, because we didn't know it as anything different. Right. It was our normal.
Yeah. I think it's natural too in aging to think back about our childhood, because a lot of times through adulthood we're just busy, and then you do start to get a little more nostalgic.
And that's why we go to antique stores now.
But when you see a book like that, it forces you to go back and say, oh, you get to stop and remember.
Well, we're all getting older, and it's about time we talked about it. Until next time on Aging Untold.
On the next Aging Untold, medical overload. When you're faced with tests, procedures, and medications, but it just feels like too much.
More care doesn't mean better care.
We'll share the questions you can ask your doctors to get the care that's right for you.